when this issue erupted on the 7th of October, first of all, I started the book before that. In fact, I started the book a few weeks before the 7th of October because I felt that something was boiling there and that we had to expect a problem. And I started just a few weeks before the 7th of October. But the interesting thing is that by writing a book, you have to dig into things. And I went through history, and definitely what I discovered was even beyond what I expected, in fact, because it showed that we have a very poor understanding of the whole conflict. To be honest, I was during my work in intelligence, I've been in touch, and I have several friends, Israeli friends working in Israeli intelligence. I had quite extensive contact with them and always good contact with them. And I never realized that, in fact, the situation of Israel is very different from the one we tend to understand in the West. And this book allowed me to go deeper into history, and I really advise people, not just because I'm the author, but because it explains a lot of things that we have no idea. And that's a reason probably I would like to go through a little bit of history today to understand how the reality in this conflict is misrepresented in our media.
Terrific.
And if you allow me, I would start at the very beginning of the history, in fact, which is in fact Resolution 181, which was adopted on the 29th of November 1947. And this is the UN resolution that allows to partition the existing state of Palestine into two different states, because that's something we always tend to forget. And before writing this book, I always forgot that in fact you had a state of Palestine between 1921 and 1948, in fact. And Ben
So
Gurion,
actually on that point, because that's a point of potential misinformation, I guess, because I have heard many commentators in Western media say that actually there was no Palestinian state. It was just people living out in this area, which may not matter that much. But you're saying there actually was a Palestinian state of some degree?
It was. You can even find videos on the YouTube where Golda Meir, one of the first leaders of the Israeli state, she said, "I had a Palestinian passport. I was Palestinian." So during these 27 years, which were under the mandate of the British had received from the League of Nations a mandate to manage this territory, the administration, in fact, of this territory after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. But the territory was a political entity, and people had a Palestinian passport, so the state of Palestine did exist. You even had a Palestinian Olympic Committee, in fact.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it was a full state. It had some institutions that were managed by the British, but it was a state. And the UN resolution 181 had in mind to offer the opportunity to have a Jewish state as well within this territory. And it's important also because media tend to say that Israel was created by the United Nations. That's wrong. The United Nations offered the opportunity to partition Palestine into two countries. And that's this map that we know, which is widely presented, that you have this state of Palestine here. This is the whole surface here, and on that you have a proposed Israeli territory here and a proposed Palestinian territory here in green. Sorry. And The interesting thing is that in this resolution, it was said because the United Nations don't have the power to give territory. They don't have the power to take territory from someone and to give it to someone else. Therefore, the resolution provided for having referendum to make the population decide by itself whether or not it wanted to partition the country. And in fact, you had two visions at this point in Palestine. You had the Arab population; they wanted to keep the existing state of Palestine, and you had the Jews who wanted to have their own territory
So
because
now
that's
let me
what
ask
they.
you, do you know that when this 181 was devised, the map you're showing right there, what
Yeah.
it obviously wasn't going to be ethnic breakdown because or was it? Was there already by 1947 many Jews living in those areas that were I guess brown or whatever that color is? I can't tell. They were already there, and that's why they chose, because it's obviously a very odd shaped dynamic for both. And then, of course, there's no contiguous area for the Arabs. So I'm just wondering how they even formed that in the first place.
Well, in fact, you're right to ask the question because the Arab population felt that, but that's a proposal, by the way. It has never been set as the solution. It was a proposal. I don't know exactly. I mean, there were probably interests from the Israeli population, and the Israeli population. Oh, sorry, the Israeli population was very active. I mean, had already some lobbies in the West, and that's probably the reason why this partition was designed, and it was really unfair in some, and it was even so unfair because the Jewish population, in fact, was only 32% of the population at that time, and the Arabs had 68. So 2/3 Arabs and 1/3 Jews. And that's also the reason why, although the resolution provided for having those referendum, that the Jews never wanted to have this referendum, because if you see the population, in fact, you would say that any referendum would certainly be
Yeah.
in favor of the Arabs. So, and that's the reason why from November 1947 up to May 1948, when the Israeli declared independence, you had in fact a struggle. The Jewish militias took the territory by force, and that's the reason why, as they declared independence, the Arab states said, no, 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 that's not possible, because this is not what the resolution asked for. They had no referendum at all. Nobody was consulted, and in fact, the whole Israeli territory was taken by force. Period. And that was not in the spirit and not in the letter of the UN resolution. So the UN resolution has never been implemented.